Very excited for our next guest. It's been a long time since I spoke with Walter, but I have spoke with Walter. It's been well over a decade. So joining us now, the star of the new documentary, Arcades and Love Songs, The Ballad of Walter Day. It's Walter Day.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Walter. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm honored to be on the show. I've been a big fan of Craig for years because I've always been amazed by Screw Attack.
Oh, right. Well, yes. It's funny you mentioned that. I mentioned that before show, and I didn't pull it out. I still have the trading cards that you made for me back in the old Screw Attack days. So I those are very near and dear to me. Member of the Hall of Fame, which is
right.
So,
right. So in the course of all those years, I'm in my 15th year of doing the trading cards, and I've designed not quite 5,000 cards, but over 4,000 of them are in print, distributed around the world.
Well, I'm a limited edition, baby. Love that. Well, thank you very much. It was quite the honor. I love that. I'll show that to everybody a little bit later on. Okay, so let's talk about this movie. We got a lot to talk about, and 30 minutes is not enough time to talk to you, but we're going to maximize it as best we possibly can. So first and foremost, Walter, the movie is called Arcade and Love Songs, and it's about you, about your transition from video games into your, I guess, true love, if you will, music. Is that accurate?
That sounds good. Essentially, I'd like to describe the whole process this way. In 1985, I had a glamorous girlfriend who one night called me up and said, "Walter, I secretly have been seeing a friend of yours." And essentially, we were through that night. Within a couple of weeks, I was suffering from some very serious heartbreak. It was a really, really difficult transition to go through. And suddenly, in the middle of that heartbreak, I started hearing music play. It's like I was listening to a radio station play inside of me. I was channeling a radio station, but all the music that I was hearing was original songs that didn't exist outside in the outside world. And these songs, not all of them were complete, but they were hooks, there were harmonics, there were harmonies, there were melodies, there were lyrics, the whole thing. And I was so transfixed by it that I started writing the songs down and singing the songs into tape recorder. And I was so on fire with this that I vowed that someday I was going to get on the stage. And even though I had never been a songwriter, even though I never ever thought it, even had the thought of being a songwriter, and even though I wasn't a singer, I didn't have a good singing voice, I vowed that someday I'd get on the stage and I'd play and sing those songs for the public. And so I was on fire with that desire, with that vow, that life's goal. And 20 years after that happened, suddenly the King of Kong happened. And I talked with the producer and director of the King of Kong and told him of my dream to get away from the video games and do my music, which was my true love. And they were intrigued by that. And that's why, if you remember the movie The King of Kong, I'm singing and playing the guitar in The King of Kong. I'm actually singing acoustically some of my songs. And they were very intrigued by that, never forgot that. Then we go 20 years further, and I'm at an event in Pomona, California. And a couple of guys come out of the crowd and say, "We recognize you from The King of Kong." And they said, "We remember your music. Whatever happened to that music?" And I told them that it was still my dream to do it, but just the difficulties of the world got in the way again and again and again. And I never was able to bring that music to life, even though it's my dream, and I hope that I'll still be able to do it. And then they said, "Well, we created a game called Color Switch, which was super successful, and we have the money to be able to help you. We want to produce your album. We'll pay all the expenses, and it'll be a complete gift for you, no strings attached." So suddenly I find myself in the studio recording music. And that's when the Seth Gordon and Ed Cunningham, who did The King of Kong from 20 years earlier, found out that Walter was finally doing his music. And they got excited and thought, this is a story. We have to tell the story of a man who at the end of his years, because I'm 75, 76 now.
Yeah.
At the end of his years, still managed to bring his dream to life and fulfill his dream. And so the theme of the movie is, it's never too late.
Well, it's funny as I'm hearing you talk about kind of the origins of this, and specifically the music that is in your head. You talked about how really this all it seems like it stemmed from the breakup that you had in the movie. It was 37 years ago, or roughly 40 years ago. And you said something just now that kind of struck my fancy. You said I had a long couple weeks. I'm paraphrasing here, and it really hurt you for a few weeks. I would argue, and just based off of what I saw from the movie, I finished it last night. George watched it as well. It seems like this has been a reoccurring hurt that you've had pretty much your entire life, pretty much since then. Is that accurate? Because and there was a lot of inspiration around that breakup and the hurt feelings that you felt.
Well, the hurt feelings lasted for some time. It took a couple weeks after the breakup for it to really start coming out and unwinding, and then the music started. But the sadness and the hurt lasted for some time, because for a decade, by the time the music phenomenon was over, I had 138 songs, and the last songs to come up were 1996. Then it stopped. I no longer channel or cognize original music. I just have the ones I came up with as the ones to work with.
Well, it's a really interesting to watch. About roughly just over 90 minutes long. Really interesting to kind of see the story that goes along. And there's a lot of really, I would say, telling tidbits that were told along the story of Arcade and Love Songs. Number one, they talked about how you spent the vast majority of your life lifting people up, right? Lifting people up while not putting a whole lot of emphasis on yourself, right? You bring people up, and ultimately other people have gained financially, and as their words in the movie, they said, "You're broke," right? That really kind of struck me, the idea that Walter is put everybody else in front of everybody else, while you have tried various business things, obviously Twin Galaxies, and you mentioned there was a card business, which, going back to what we talked about earlier. Do you have any regrets about kind of the way you've chosen to go about, now that you, as in your words, kind of the later half of your later part of your life, not being a little more, I don't know, for lack of better words, selfish?
Well, when the famous Life magazine photograph happened, I paid for everybody's hotel rooms and a lot of expenses for them, and then I chose to not be in the picture because I wanted their glory, because I really believed in esports. We weren't using that expression yet, but that was the dream that was going back on in 1981, 82 when I founded Twin Galaxies, that video games were legitimate competitive sport, and they need to be honored as such and uplifted as such and organized as such. And that's what Twin Galaxies was all about. So that's why there's so many people now who consider that the birth of esports, because that was the first time that a serious attempt was made to recognize video game playing as a serious competitive sport, an organizable sport, and a commendable sport. And there it is, the Life magazine photograph. And I paid for a lot of their hotel rooms because, so from the perspective today, after knowing so much and after going through so much experience, maybe I would have had them pay their own hotel rooms now and done a little smarter. But I was so devoted to it and believed in it so much that I was on fire with the passion for it. That's the word, passion, that I was willing to do whatever it takes to make things work out and move to the next step, the next stage. And so I did that again and again and again and again. Then I took on the burden of organizing and financing for thing after thing after thing after thing, because I believe so firmly in the future of esports, even though we weren't calling it esports yet.
Right. It's funny about this photo here. I see a Christopher Reeve in Death Trap. So this photo was taken in 1982. This photo here.
This is November 7th, 1982.
It's awesome. That's great. I wonder how Death Trap did in the theaters.
That's right. It's up on the marquee.
George, you saw this. I would love to hear your thoughts. Or do you have any questions for Walter here?
Well, the first thing that stood out to me, Walter, is it's such a companion piece to King of Kong that they're almost mirror images of each other. The first movie is about man's obsession with being immortalized in the records of history, trying to get that high score and defending your position, and what happens when someone tries to take that score from you. and the madness that ensues. But then the second film is what happens to a man when he's heartbroken and he loses what it sounds like the love of his life kind of thing. And I was struck by how profoundly sad it was, if you don't mind me saying so, especially halfway through. I had to pause and take a break in the middle. It was like painful for me to watch, sir. I don't know how to describe. I kind of wish I could ask you now if there was a happy ending, because the film kind of leaves off on a sort of, not a cliffhanger exactly, but I really want you, the hero, to have achieved happiness. And I hope, maybe spoilers, I can ask you, did everything work out, or what's the story?
Well, you're a very smart guy, George. I've been interviewed about 35 times now, and no one else has recognized this this correlation, this perspective. Essentially, I'm in a good place now. I'm in a happy place now. Shane and I are very close, but we're not a couple. I mean, we're both in our 70s. We're not going to run off to Las Vegas together.
You sure? Why not?
Yeah, why not? Let's go. Hey, Walter, if you run, listen, I'll tell you this right now. If you run off to Vegas with her, I will fly you out there personally. I will cover the cost for both y'all to go out there and go to the little house off the strip and go get your wedding.
It's funny. I'm going to quote you.
Yeah.
And in 1 week on June 29th, we're having a huge red carpet premiere here in Fairfield, where most of the thing was filmed in Fairfield, Iowa. It's most of the people who are the stars of it are Fairfield, Iowa people. The whole community got essentially involved in this film, and we're having our big red carpet ceremony on Sunday, June 29th. So, and Shane and I already talked. And here's something very funny. Just a couple days ago, I called Shane up and said, it's the 40th anniversary of our first date. We have to go back to that same Mexican restaurant in Ottumwa where I first took you out 40 years ago to the very night. And so she got all excited. So we have a date set to mark the 40th anniversary of us going out the first time 40 years ago.
Can I ask then, is she single?
Oh, she's single.
Okay. That's the answer.
Walter.
That's the answer I wanted.
What are we doing,
Can
Walter?
I say, though?
I love it.
Between us, the movie's not finished yet then.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I want the secret ending.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it all turns out.
Walter, stop tiptoeing around, man. It's time to commit, Walter. It's been 40 years. Let's go.
You're great.
Right.
You guys are completely hitting on interesting points and angles that no one else in almost 40 interviews has hit on.
Well, no, for real. I couldn't sleep last night. This is very strange to say. Like, I knew you were going to be on today, right? So I looked you up. I rewatched King of Kong, and then I watched Arcades and Love Songs. I listened to the album, and I said, I couldn't sleep because something was bothering me so deeply about it. Like, let's say as a gamer, right? I understand what you went through. It was very well filmed. It's very beautiful and sad. And we've all been through heartbreak. But as I'm watching this movie and I finished it, I'm like, this movie's not done. There's something about it that couldn't let me rest last night. And I think I have my answer now. But anyone who watches the movie is going to get to the ending and say, wait, there's more. There's an epilogue that's missing.
When the movie was first made, when the first iteration of the movie was first made, it didn't have a snap or a buzz to it. So they hired one of the top guys in Hollywood to come in and say, okay, we have to rearrange this film differently. And when we rearrange this film differently the way I do, it's actually going to become a very emotional roller coaster. I thought it was just a simple story that was going to have not that much of an effect on anybody or be any interest in that people would find it boring. But I'm reflecting on what you're saying, George. It's really interesting how people are getting into this film. How even though it's not an action film, like there's no alien bursting from my chest and Godzilla doesn't make a single appearance, it's having a psychological, emotional effect on people who see this film.
Well, part of the thing that the gamer life is, if you'll forgive me for saying, we're all kind of nerdy. We're a little awkward with the ladies, perhaps. We can so identify with the struggle of what this movie is about, the heartbreak, the years of yearning that happened afterwards, so much so that you picked up an instrument. And it sounded like you've been playing music for your whole life, but the only way that the human being, like I'm an illustrator, so I'll illustrate using pencil, whatever colors, but somebody will pick up an instrument and say, the only way I can express this pain is through the arts, through music. And even though you weren't an expert at singing, you put your whole soul into a performance. And I was so moved by it, because even though it was not like professional, you were singing with, it was like, I don't know how to describe it. There was such a purity to it. I was very moved.
Well, I'm very moved by what you're saying. So the thing, I've been in front of crowds of people. I've spoken in front of big events, and not once did I ever get nervous that I can think of. Just really, really, it's just simple for me to be a public speaker kind of person. But as Ed Cunningham, the director of the movie, points out, when I got up there and I'm first standing in front of those people, I froze for 5 seconds. And he said he almost had a panic attack because all this stuff had gone, all this stuff had been done, and suddenly I'm there, and essentially I have I freeze, but it only lasted 5 seconds, and I even commented that, boy, I'm nervous now, even though moments before I had been bragging that I'm not nervous at all, but I was nervous because I was in over my head. I was in deep, uncharted waters. It was brand new for me. I was in possibly the most vulnerable moment of my life. I was singing in front of other people, and I had no idea how it was going to come out because I had a fledgling new voice that I was working on. But I learned from that. That with enough practice and training and rehearsal, I can actually have a voice that will be able to sing and use it for public performing. Mm-hmm. But that night was just barely on the edge of being acceptable. But I was there facing the vulnerability and singing from the heart. And somehow people appreciated that I was singing from the heart. And it was a very bold thing for me to get up there and sing when I was never a songwriter, and I was never going to be a singer. But suddenly I was on fire to do it, and I was not going to take no for an answer.
Oh, I was cheering for you. My wife could tell you, like, I was yelling at the TV, come on, you can do it. It was like looking into the sun. I couldn't do it like directly. I couldn't look at the TV. I was like this. We were cheering for you.
Wow.
It was so,
awesome.
It's embarrassing to say now, but it's like, oh, I wish you had just been there without the whole entrance. It doesn't matter now. You did it already. Mm-hmm. It's like just welcoming everyone and getting the jitters out early instead of the big ta-da, here I am. It doesn't matter now.
Well, that's interesting, George, because Ed Cunningham, in fact, when Ed Cunningham is in Q&As, he tells people that, well, look, I kept saying to Walter, why don't you go over to Cafe Paradiso and do an open mic just to get a little bit of experience. I said, no, I want this to be literally the first time in my life I get up and publicly sing. Wow. I want it to be the world premiere of me as a singer-songwriter.
So, Walter, if you don't mind me asking, now that you've been on stage, this was a couple of years ago at this point, right?
That was February 7th, 2023.
Okay, so this was obviously a long road to get there. Do you feel like you have closure as far as having some sort of accomplishment of actually getting on stage? Did it help you close kind of that chapter in your life, or did it open up a new one?
Well, it opened up a new one because now I have to, one disappointment of the whole thing is I'm disappointed to learn how much work it is to actually develop your voice and keep it tuned up to the level that you can publicly perform with it. Because at the age of 76, I don't know if I want to work that hard anymore.
Sure.
I'd rather just watch, rather watch your show on YouTube or something and not work that hard. However, I'm very determined and on fire to make this happen. And I want to write more songs. I'm trying to find a higher level of producer who can recognize and hear my songs on a higher level than they've already been done. Because the way the songs got produced on this album of 9 songs, they don't really quite sound like the way I hear them inside. A lot of harmonics got lost in the transition of bringing it to life on this album.
Do you mind if we, I I think there's so much there when it comes to the story, and I know we only got you for another 10 minutes or so. So I want to be respectful of your time and still ask you some questions and some other things about the documentary as well. One of the things that was actually I was kind of surprised that it went into was the Twin Galaxies lawsuit that that you were included in when it was later settled. You said, they asked you, the producer asked you, do you feel like that lawsuit hurt your reputation? And you very bluntly said, yeah, I do. Can you walk us through kind of the ins and outs of that, how that came about, and just everything that went along with that?
Well, it's a long, complicated process. See, I watched all the players play years ago, and so I had a sense of who was doing what and how good they were. And Billy was accused of using MAME on his Donkey Kong scores.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen him in action. I knew he could do the scores. He had the skill set, and two, he was an advocate. He was very much against MAME and spoke openly about MAME, not liking MAME or wanting to support MAME. So I knew that he didn't mess around with MAME, and so from my perspective, and also they think he did some magical computer programming to invent some new level of MAME playing an arcade cabinet, and I knew he did not have that skill set. In fact, no one had that skill set. It wasn't being done. So from my perspective, I didn't think that he cheated, so it was my testimony that I believed he didn't cheat. So when that happened, Twin Galaxies decided to make it more difficult for Billy to be able to finance his lawsuit by suing me and Billy in conjunction in a countersuit to put him under pressure. I had one guy call up and tell me, look, I talked to Jace. He says Billy drops the lawsuit against him, and I dropped the lawsuit against you. So it was actually a stunt to put Billy under financial and moral pressure so that he would drop the suit against the Twin Galaxies. But he didn't drop it. He continued onward, and eventually Twin Galaxies, knowing they had no ability to actually have the suit go to court, just dropped it.
Right. So you sold Twin Galaxies to Jace Hall, right? And I'm just curious, like, in hindsight, would you do anything differently to kind of, for lack of a better word, like maintain the integrity of the organization while you still owned it? Like maybe a submission process or something along those lines that to where none of this would ever happen? Do you have any regrets or would have done things differently?
Well, I had actually been out of Twin Galaxies for some years because I was trying to do the music for some years.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of things happened that I wouldn't have done. Like they started charging for scores and stuff like that back around 2008 or 2009. And but essentially, it was complicated how to verify scores.
Right.
First, when we first started verifying scores, we'd have people send in a photograph of the video game screen showing the score and have a signed affidavit from some witnesses and also the arcade management. And that went on for a little while before we realized that that wasn't working because the arcades were having difficulty surviving. And they knew that when someone got a high score that was a world record on a game, they could get a local news story and get free publicity from the newspaper. Mm-hmm. So arcade management all over the place began to exaggerate scores or falsify scores, and they're close friends with the guys with the score. They're willing to sign off on their friends too. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially the process of doing photographs and affidavits didn't work. So we got into eventually the videotaping scores. However, that still was a problem because people could do all sorts of tricks and gimmicks in different ways that they could get around the gameplay and falsify a score. So it was a ongoing, difficult process. So we started having referees who'd be experts on the games, except that caused problems then because when you submitted a score in game X, the person who had the knowledge to know whether or not you cheated or not is your rival who's also trying to get the high score in game X.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to show all your hard-earned secrets to that guy. So that became a problem. It just was a difficult process all the way through, and it was a struggle. But I sincerely was trying to keep the integrity in the process, even though I was faced by these never-ending challenges.
Right.
But we do it right now. It seems to be the best way, and I take my hat off to Jace Hall, and we'll see how it goes. Twin Galaxies is not a big organization. It's a small community,
Right.
but seem to be a devoted community. So I take it.
You know, there's a scene in the movie where you think you're at a community, like a community college or a university or something, and they do a presentation as you being the father of esports, and you take off your ref outfit and you talk about how that's, you know, that was you retiring or your first step in retirement. But I noticed you have it on today. I noticed that during the movie you had it on while you were singing. Is the ref outfit? Is it kind of like a comfort mechanism for you, or is it just how you feel comfortable because you've worn it so much, or do you envision a day where you just take off the ref outfit altogether?
Well, actually, it is comfortable on me, and I'm so used to it. And it's really interesting what happens when I put it on. It completely changes the brainwaves of everybody else in the room because I become something else in their mind and in their emotions. And it's a really interesting process. I've seen it again and again and again. I'm Walter, then suddenly I'm not Walter. And this larger than life imagery. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's actually an effect that happened.
It's like a costume almost.
A costume.
Yes.
And essentially, I was symbolically and spiritually letting everybody in the room know. I was viewing them as being representatives. See, there were like 300 kids there. There were like 40 esports teams there or something like that from schools and colleges all over the region. And so essentially what I was doing is I was passing on the spirit of all the work that I'd done for all those years and giving it to them, like passing on the baton for them to carry it forward into the future. And that was the sense that I was hoping to evoke at the time that I was doing that. And I don't know how clear that came across, but that was the sense of what was trying to, be done at that moment. Mm-hmm. The reason I still have the referee on is because the referee shirt on now is because even though I'm retired from being the referee, there still is a continuity that helps tell the story. Like if I was worried, see, when I go out to the Q&As at movie premieres, I wear my music outfit that I played in during the show, and I don't wear the referee here.
Sure.
But when I get paid to go to like an event, like a huge arcade expo or something, I would wear this outfit, the referee outfit.
Right. Well, we only got you for a couple more minutes. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you your thoughts on Billy's ruling over Carl Jobst and the judgment that came down there. Obviously, you're close to Billy. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm 76. I'm trying to not sue anybody. I'm trying to not be sued by anybody. So I just plan on just smoothly going through life and not be involved in lawsuits. Billy's a warrior. He's involved in lawsuits. And he essentially, Carl Jobst unfairly accused him of being responsible for the suicide of another YouTuber. And Billy said, I didn't do it. But Carl Jobst, even though he was given evidence that Billy was guilty, doubled down and continued to defame Billy. So Billy sued him. And then Carl Jobst turned the tables on Billy and portrayed the lawsuit as being about Billy allegedly cheating. Mm-hmm. And so that was what the judge, the judge was able to go through all the stuff and say, this is not about cheating. This is all about the defamation of Billy allegedly being responsible for this other YouTuber committing suicide. And so, but Carl had been raising money. If I have this right, Carl had been raising money from people who were led to believe that he was fighting Billy because of Billy's alleged reputation for suing. So Carl Jobst he's in a lot of difficulties, I think.
Yeah.
I wish him the best. I'm sure that, well, we'll see how it turns out for him. But yeah. I'm not a part of that lawsuit. I just watch it from a distance like everybody else in the world. But it's very interesting how much the two lawsuits Billy was in with Twin Galaxies and with Carl Jobst have become precedent-setting lawsuits that are now quoted or used as precedent in other lawsuits around the world. So it's very interesting. World-famous lawsuits, actually.
George, do you have any last questions for Walter before we say au revoir?
Well, one thing I'll say is I'm glad you're not involved in all that lawsuit stuff. I think one of the ugliest things about gaming, even to this day, is the stupid infighting that happens that has nothing to do with the fun of playing. It's these like cavemen hitting their chests at each other. I think it's dumb. I think it's poisoning. It's like peeing in the pool, frankly. And I think what you represented and what your arcade represented, your legacy represents even now, is the fun of not necessarily, I don't need to win the high score or anything, but this idea of there's a place I can go on a Friday night to hang out with my friends and we're going to just have a good time. And I think that's what the best parts of gaming can be. And what I respect about, let's say, the first half of this movie. The second half of this movie, I was very moved by, despite your age, which I don't think is a factor. That you're able and willing and interested in expressing yourself in an artistic way. I think everybody should see this too, not as a gamer necessarily, although it is relevant. Just as a human being, it's a very human story. It's very moving. And let's see, if I had any questions, I would just have an encouragement. I think towards the end of the movie, I saw that you were still feeling kind of timid. And I think you should give yourself permission, sir, to let yourself go crazy. Really let yourself off that leash. I think that's the final hurdle between you and whatever the next level is.
Well, that's great advice. I've openly confessed in some of the Q&As that at the age of 76, I'm a little shy now, even though I never was shy before. And who knows where that came from. But maybe people at the age of 76 become shy. but what's interesting, what I really appreciate about your perspective, George, is that I'm so close to this that I've lost perspective on it. And I'm amazed again and again and again by heartfelt values that are coming from you and from Craig, and from the beautiful woman who's not at all talking.
It's Blabs. Hi. Of all things. Hi, Blabs.
Hello. I've been listening.
Well, that's a great nickname. Or is that your Armenian Ukrainian name?
Oh, no, it's just my username on the internet.
Okay. Well, I'm becoming amazed again and again, because it happened when we were at Long Beach at the art theater there, and suddenly all these men and women and all sorts of people began to coming up, and they had been crying during the movie. Well, the fact is that this movie, which blows me away, is having a huge effect on a lot of people, and it's a very, I mean, some reviewers refer to it as soulful. It's considered an art house film, and one person wrote just this morning saying he thought it was better than The King of Kong, which probably it isn't. But the thing is it's richer than my perspective is allowing it to be. So I have a lot of learning to go through. And I have a lot of growth that I can still go through. So to get back to some of your points, George, this is, for me, an amazing growing experience. And I have, admittedly, a lot of growth still to go. And for me, I mean, Shane is wonderful. She's so beautiful. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
I do. You're going to ask her to marry her, and you're going to get on a plane to Las Vegas, and you're going to have a wife.
At your expense, too.
Yes, and you're going to live happily ever after, Walter. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get married.
Actually, at the age of 76, I'm all for having a wife.
Yes.
I've never had a wife, and I'm not sure why.
I think you're shy, sir.
Because you're waiting for this moment right here, Walter. Finish the story, my dude. Finish the story. I love it.
Well, thank you for being dear friends and supporters and respecting the movie. Because, like I said, I'm still learning perspective on this, and it's still completely new and amazing to me. But what's happening is the word is getting out about the movie a step at a time, an increment at a time, and everywhere it goes, it seems to be well received and warmly received and respected. That's an important word. The movie's being respected. So far, we've had no negativity thrown at it, even from the naysayers who we know are watching the movie to find out what they can find out to get back at Billy or something like that. No negativity from them either.
Love
My
it.
only complaint is that I want more.
There you
If
go.
there's a premiere next week or something, you guys should be filming that. I almost want to go myself.
Well, are all you guys in Texas?
No, we're not all in Texas.
I'm
We're
in
all-
New Jersey.
We're all split around. Blabs is in Guam. I'm in Dallas. Yeah, it's wonderful in Guam.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Well, Blabs, do you speak Spanish?
No, I don't.
Little un poquito over here.
I mean, I could sort of read a little bit since I know Italian and know a little bit of French, all the Latin names, the words, you know.
There you
I kind of get together.
Marius says, Walter Day is a treasure. Go get your happy ending, Walter. You deserve it.
We're all cheering for it.
Oh, you have people listening live to this?
Oh yes, yeah, we're live. We just so you know, we've have thousands of people tuning in right now, Walter. Yes.
Really? I thought this was something that would show on the internet maybe next week or something like
Oh
that.
no. We are literally live. That we do our show every single day, Monday through Friday at 11. We are live right now. People are tuning in. Aramis says courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. There you go, from Mark Twain. Like everyone's pumping you up, Walter.
Good. You're bringing tears to my eyes. I'm just so touched by this because, like I said, you know, at the age of 76, there's still room to be amazed and surprised, and this is all amazing and surprising.
Yes, Walter. Yes, I love it. I love it, Walter. Listen, we're rooting for you. You're not just the father of esports. You're the father of gaming today as we know it. Yes, Walter Bear, whatever, you know, Mr. Bear who created. We're talking Walter Day over here. All right, that's who we're talking about, and which is great. Hey, Walter, we appreciate your time today, my man. Hold on, real quick, George, you got any other questions for Walter before I go get my card?
I just want to make sure that there's a way I can get an update for the epilogue.
Okay.
If there's a way that you could let us know if anything interesting happens.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
There's so much I want to say, but we're on air. Isn't it such a gamer story, though, being shy? Right, Craig, maybe you know the story.
What's that? I'm sorry, I had my headphones out.
Isn't it such a gamer thing to happen, to be shy? And,
Yes, of course. I think
to make that move, but you can't. But,
all gamers are introverts.
and everyone can see. You got to go for it.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to tell you, Walter, if I can give you advice that my dad has given me. My dad is 77 years old. And he's been telling me this since I was 8 years old. Finish strong. Finish strong, Walter. You can do it.
I think that's really the spirit of what's going on, because other people wind down their lives and they stop doing anything, stop having interest, stop having expression in their life. But here at the end, I'm so pleased that a book, a movie, an album have all come out to be my end game. And so that it's not even an end game. It's like a rebirth.
Yes. Hey, in today's games, it's called New Game Plus. That's what it's called. New Game Plus over here, Walter. Mercenary says, hope things are okay. He says, God bless you, Walter, for honoring us gamers. There we go.
Right. Thank you.
Hey, just wanted to share this with you. I have a full stack of these. I do not hand these out. These are strictly for me. You handed to me at SGC one year when we did Screw Attack Gaming Convention. I have my card here for when it was young Craig, the Superstars of 2013 video game trading card set right there. I have a full stack of them, which I hold very near and dear to my heart, Walter. So I just want to thank you for that. So great stuff.
Thank you.
All right. There you go, everybody. Walter Day, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, hey, I actually have one last question for you, Walter. Do you have a couple? One more minute?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Your arcade, Twin Galaxies, like in Iowa, right? Right outside where that Time magazine photo was shot. When did that close? And what was that like for you when that actually closed?
Oh, it was a huge, phenomenal experience because I was so psychologically and emotionally involved in Twin Galaxies. Well, first of all, I'm going to take 2 minutes to finish this. Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, okay. 2 minutes.
Okay. Twin Galaxies, like all arcades in 81, 82, was a huge success. with tons and tons of money coming in the door. Businessmen like lawyers and doctors and dentists saw all the ready cash that was being made and started opening up arcades. Before long, Ottumwa had 3 or 4 arcades. And at the same time that those 4 arcades have now split up, there was a limited number of quarters that was going to be spent in that town at any given moment. And suddenly it's being distributed across 3 or 4 arcades. So the arcades are making less and less money. Twin Galaxies is making less and less money. And they have to start buying new games to try and win people back to come. And every time you got a new game, it's like a mortgage on a car, $2,900, $3,250, stuff like that. And so before long, all the arcades, all of them, would have a whole row of brand new games still owing thousands and like having a room full of unpaid automobiles with mortgages not paid yet. And so none of them could pay off their games. And so when we closed down on March 6th, 1984, we didn't go out of business. The company that was supplying on lease the games to arcade, they got foreclosed on, and the truck came and took away the games, and we couldn't find any company to replace them and bring in the games. So against our will, we went out of business.
There you go. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense right there. Well, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, I grew up in the 90s arcades, you know, late 80s, early 90s arcades, and they obviously had a different vibe than the 80s arcades, but it was certainly a wonderful time for me. It shaped me as a person, being able to go up, put a quarter in a machine. And I always say you learned a lot about somebody just by playing a game with them. You learned if they're passive, that they're aggressive, you know, if they talk shit, if they're whatever, you know, and I've always felt that was the magic of arcades and video games as a whole. So, either way, Walter, thank you very much. Everyone go check out his movie. It's about him. It's called Arcades and Love Songs. You guys can find it available on Amazon Prime right now. It's $3.99 to watch it. So you can go find it over there. Super cheap to go check that out. I believe I'm reading that correctly, but you guys can go find that. Walter, thank you so much for your time today, man. And I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you.
Blabs, way to chime in at the end. That's great.
Listen, I didn't do any interviewing. I was mixed up in the back end.
Well, is this called the Blab Show?
Yes. Walter, we're going to keep on going. If you like to stick, you're more than welcome. But we're actually going to go read a few super chats. And but if you like to roll, you can click the Leave Studio button at the bottom of the screen, or you can stick around for as long as you like.
So I'll leave now because there's stuff I have to do today. Because I have to call newspapers and all sorts of things.
Hey,
it's
go get it, Walter. Finish strong, buddy. And we look forward to you finishing your story, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Right, see you, buddy.
There's a leave button there.
The Leave Studio button.
Yeah, at the very bottom.
Looking for it.
It's a red one.
I got it. Leave Studio.
You got it. See you, Walter.
Bye-bye now. Bye.
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 I love it. George, that seemed like honestly kind of emotional for you a little bit. This kind of talking with him. Maybe not emotional is the right word, but
no, it's true. I get real choked up. I don't know why. If you see the movie, okay, like I'm a softie anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was so, maybe Blabs you would understand. You're a lady, right? Romance and all that stuff. I don't know if you care for romantic stuff. Dude writes songs about you. It's been 40 years. Invites you to come and listen to. Did you watch the movie? No. Yeah?
I did not.
Okay. Just, I don't know what a lady would be even thinking in this scenario. Invites you to the thing. He's performing on stage. He's shy. Break up 40 years ago. Are you moved? I don't even know if I'm asking the right questions. Like, it kills me, man. It kills me.
Yeah.
What does a lady think? Is it corny? Is it?
No, I think it's sweet.
Oh.
Well,
yeah, I think it's sweet.
I stand by it. If he wants to get on a plane and go to Vegas and marry his the love of his life, which clearly she is, right? And they clearly have a thing going for each other. Like if they're still hanging out like 2 years after this and they're going to celebrate their first date 40 years later, like.
And they didn't clarify in the movie if she was single or what. Like I'm looking at the crowd, like who are those people next to her? What's going on? Like, what is she thinking? She seems interested in him, likes him a little bit, but like, he's so you saw him. He's so sweet. It's like I don't think he would ever, if there was $1 million on a table, he wouldn't touch it, even if it said free. You could take it.
Yeah.
But it's like, there it is. Go get it. Do it.
All right. That was a lot there. Let's get to some super chats here to finish up our show. I'll tell you, I think, look, I know it's been a couple of weeks. I don't think we're going to do our call-in today just because we have so much stuff going on. And I know that a lot of people are excited. We'll make it up for you guys next week. I promise you that. I promise you that. So thank you guys very much. Usually we do that on Fridays. But, man, it's Walter freaking Day, everybody. Like, come on. What are we doing here? Your dad said you should hit the subscribe button. Don't disappoint Dad.